Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about how to do lab archives and how to submit things appropriately so everything gets nice and formatted. If you go to the home section of your Canvas page and you scroll down just a little bit, you will see a set of links for lab archives. The very first link is for your specific section. That's the one you want to do. For lab archives, there's a 2-week free trial period. So if you click on that link and you set it up and you need some time before you're able to pay for the lab archives access, you have 2 weeks or so to be able to do that. So make sure you keep that in mind. There are tutorials that are short and extended on how to use it, but we're going to talk about a couple of quick things that are important for our specific lab and how to turn stuff in. So this is what lab archives looks like. To an extent, mine's a little bit more messy than what you guys would see. Something that you guys would see would look something like this. So over here is where you have different notebooks. I have multiples. You guys will just have one. And in each notebook, we have different stuff, introductions, information about how to do this, how to use your lab archive stuff. There's information there. Most importantly, I want to talk about submitting lab reports and viewing lab report information. We'll start with things like general lab precautions and biological safety. That'll be our very first day. But when you guys actually turn in lab reports and things like that, what you're going to want to do is click over on the first one, which is pre-lab report, and you can read through all the information that's covered in there. It has things like background information, any specific things, videos, materials you'll need for the lab, the exact procedures and the order that you'll be doing them in. This is important to make sure that you guys have ready and available. I highly recommend you guys put the Lab Archives app on your phone, though many other people use the browser version of this to do it on their phone as well, whichever one works best for you. Now, the important part is submitting lab reports. And this is where we get into a bit of interesting issues. So what will happen is, as a lab report, you will have the option to plug in information, your observations, what have you, and submit it, and you will get your grade through that. Now, if we jump back over to the lab report we're going to show you guys. For this lab report, there's pretty much anything that's in yellow requires an answer. So it says here, describe your own words, what you'll be able to do in this lab. So you'll want to hit the edit button and get ready to answer this. And you can type the answer down here, whatever it is. So key thing, though, is you want to be very careful when you're putting in answers to make sure that they are not highlighted yellow. That's a very common issue. So if I type into here, what the answer is, it's Graham Stain. It's all yellow. We don't want that. That's just too much confusing stuff. If you highlight this, select more text, you can then change the background color to white, and now it is a clean and easy to read thing. If you personally want it to be a larger text, you can of course change the text as you want, but it's not, necessary really to do. You don't want to fiddle around with this too much, but there you go. For these other questions here, we've left a space at the in between them. The space will remain white, so you can see I can type in here, and it is still the white background with the black text. If you end up typing over here, it will just continue that highlighted portion, which we don't want, of course. Anything that you type in here and you want to save, you have to make sure to hit the save button up here to save to page. If you don't do that, then we will end up having a problem because you'll lose all your data. The last little bit is inserting pictures. If you want to insert a picture, let's say here we have our Graham Stain results, draw or take an image. We can hit enter here and we can insert an image. Click in here and then it will give you the option to choose a file, whatever it is. And I will just choose this one because it's interesting. And you can of course resize it, which is very handy if you don't want it too big. Now I'm doing this on a computer, but you guys will have time to edit on your own computer if need be, but you can also do all these edits on your phone as well. Down here, you guys can see a set of options. These options include things like put in an image caption. Hey, this is what this image is. Goggles are good. But let's say I want to put specific annotations in the image for different areas. I can do an advanced edit, and this gives you a whole bunch of different options over here. So for example, we can put over here some text that says splash damage. And now we have this text highlighted here. We can also add in other things like shapes. We can say, hey, I would like to put a triangle around this to say that this is that specific thing. And I can give it a specific color. You can also fill in colors, which is very handy sometimes. Obviously, I don't want to fill it in, but there you go. And you can choose the size of the lines. So if you want the line stroke to be larger, you can increase that as well. These are all helpful. If you do something that you don't want to do, sometimes it gets a little hard to undo this. For example, there's not really a good null color here. There's no real null option here to get rid of that fill. But if you just hit back a couple times, it will get rid of it. Okay. Aside from this, you can enter in different icons, arrows, which are very handy, text, which I showed you guys before. You can put masks and all that other stuff in. You can crop things out. Let's say you only want the face in there. That's very handy as well. If you need to remove coloration or anything else, change the brightness, you have all these options to do that. You shouldn't have to do that too much, but it is something available to you. Once you're done, you want to, of course, hit save. And now you can see that this is embedded in this specific location. All right, so you can make these image edits also on your phone app. There's a couple ways to do this. If you double click on it, it should let you make the edits. And so you can go down here and you have a similar set of tools. So you can change things like the size. Changing the size with your finger doesn't work as well, but if you set it to like the manual adjustment, it works pretty well. You can also add in image captions. So you can say, hey, this is what this is an image of. So you can type that in. One of the weird things is it kind of shoots you down a little bit when you start typing. So just trust that it's there, and when you type, it'll pop up, as you can see there. One of the things is if you want some tools that aren't natively in the app, one of the things you can do is you can go into a web browser. Now, when you do the web browser, you have a much more limited set, just like you did in the app. But if you go up to the top and set desktop site, it'll reload the page and it'll give you the same set of tools that you would have on a PC. They don't work as well on a phone or a tablet, so just keep that in mind. But you can, again, unlike before, you can't just double click on it to make it edit. You have to go up and select edit, go down to your image, and then you'll have a significantly more broad set of tools. So you can add things like different types of text. You can move on there. Of course, the drawings with your finger, and it slides around a little bit. It's not as good. Using the shapes works a little bit better. As you can see here, it's much easier to draw the shapes with your finger because it'll just kind of pop up there. You know, it's not the best option, but it is an option if you don't have anything else to do or you don't want to do it on your PC. But I suggest making the edits on your phone that you want and then finishing at home on the PC. If you just click, hey, I want to attach an image here. So if you go up here and you're just like, oh, I want to attach something, and you attach an image, it will put it at the very bottom. And this will not be something that gets graded. So please don't do that. Make sure you guys keep it where it belongs. Okay, so last little bit for this. One of the formats that the computer has a terrible time working with, LabArchive specifically, is the Apple specific format, HEIC images. The way to change that so it works really well in here is if you go to your settings on your phone, you tap camera, you'll be shown some options like format, grid, preserve settings, camera mode, etc. Tap formats and change it from high efficiency to most compatible, and that will make them JPEGs instead of HEIC, which displays very nicely in LabArchives. If you have questions or have trouble setting something up, make sure you let your TA know. They have very good experience with this. Also, make sure you guys keep an eye out for comments on your graded lab reports. Sometimes your TAs will say, hey, make sure you do it like this. so that it's easier for grade. So keep that in mind as well to pay attention to any comments you get. If you have any questions, make sure you let me or your TA